Hi Nash, I'm Susan and I know we met the other day at the Wilson School. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about your writer's notebook, and I noticed that you've personalized it to make it your own. Can you tell me a little bit about the choices you made about what you have on the front of your notebook?
Well, in the school we were supposed to collage them,
Mm-hmm.
so I decided to just put animals and stuff that I liked on it, and on the back and everything I put stuff.
So say a little bit about the stuff, like what's this?
That's some world that they just chalked up with lines and everything.
What do you think about that?
I don't know, I just think it's cool.
Okay. And butterfly, you said you had animals on the front. I see you've got a butterfly. What is this?
Ant.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Ostrich.
So you're really interested in animals. So just by looking at the front and back of your notebook, I've learned a little bit about you, some of the things that you're interested in. Although I worked with a third grader once, and he said to me, "You know what, Susan? He decided, this particular child, not to decorate his notebook at all. And he said, 'You know what, Susan? It's what's inside that's important.'"
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
It's the writing. It's what you
Yeah.
the decisions you make. So why do you think it's what's inside is important?
I just like to write, and it's fun. You can write about stuff that you do and everything.
Mm-hmm. I noticed you have an entry in here, a number of entries. I got to look at your notebook a little bit when I was at Wilson School the other day. But before we look at your entries, I wanted to show you my notebook. And actually, these are all three of these are my notebooks. I've been keeping them.
Yeah, I have a ton of notebooks
You do?
at my house too.
Good. So I always start out, each notebook I think is going to be beautiful and neat, and then it starts to look like this. I stick papers in it and things I clip out of newspapers, and I've got a baseball card in one because I'm a New York Yankees fan, and I have these tickets to a concert I went to, and then I use them to remind me of things, the important things that are important to me, and I write about those things in my notebook. And I'm going to show you one entry in here because writers sometimes write the things that are floating around in their head, but oftentimes writers go back to something in their notebook and they reread their notebook. And one reason that they reread is so that they find something that's important and they think, I can add more to that entry. So I want you to watch me as I reread an entry that I have here. I actually reread it last night. And but I'm going to read it with you now. I sometimes draw it in my notebooks. In those I didn't. Do you?
I love to paint and everything. Last year, my cousins gave me a whole watercolor set, so I cut out some paper, like the special watercolor paper, and wrapped it around one of my journals and painted on it.
I would love to see that because actually watercolor is my new thing, and this is a watercolor.
Yeah, that's nice watercolor paper too.
Thanks, yeah. This book was especially made with watercolor paper. I have a number of them in here. But I looked last night at this one, and I reread it. And I want you to watch me as I reread it to find a part where I might want to add something to my writing. So it starts out, actually, Mornings at Rio Caliente. It's a place in Mexico that I visited. And I wrote, "Clear skies. When the sun pops over the distant hills and the first light filters through the space between the curtains, I look outside to see a layering of color." And I thought, kind of when I stopped there, I think, wow, a layering of color. I like the way I said that.
Yeah, but you could change it to make it into a more better word choice or something.
Well, I think by better word choice, I think I can add more words to it. I could be more specific about the colors. So I'm going to put a Post-it here. And I thought I could say, as I kind of look here, there's some pink and purple, yellow and orange. So I want to add that to my writing. Pink, purple, yellow to orange. And then it's kind of, that's the thing about watercolor, and since you're a watercolorist, you probably know that the colors start to bleed together. They kind of blur, and I think I want to put that into my writing. Bleed together, so the pink, purple, yellow to orange bleed together as they meet the morning, or as they meet the blue sky, right? These colors are... Go ahead, do you have another idea for me?
Just forgot it.
That's okay. I mean, that's the beauty of writing. You can go back and you can reread it and you can change it all the time. So I'm going to at least put that in for now. So this place here, I know is a place that I want to add. And then I'm going to continue reading. I wrote, I forgo lighting a fire, dress quickly and head to breakfast. A promise not yet broken of the soon-to-be warm day that lies ahead. And when I reread this last night, it reminded me of other mornings that I've spent that are quite different to this morning. So last night I did some writing. I'm just going to read you a little bit of that, just to get an idea. I wrote, I remember other mornings when I've had to get up early to lead a workshop. Bolting out of bed, showering, drying off with a mouthful of Listerine, tingling the inside of my cheeks, quickly downing a cup of tea, and then I went on to talk about getting dressed and leaving the house to do the work. So I've done two different types of adding on. In this place I've added on to a part of it that was already written, and here I was reminded of something new. So I looked at your notebook the other day, and I know you've got a great entry in there about, well, you've got many, but you've got one about your field trip. Can you find that for me? Okay, right, yeah.
Right here.
So in order for you to try to do this today, let's see, I think it started, yeah. I want you to take a few minutes and reread this entry, which is really long, because as I noticed when I was looking at it, there are lots of stories within this one long story about your field trip. There are places where I think you could stop and do what I did and add more to a part of it, instead of saying the next thing that happened. Do you know what I mean? So I want you to look and see which one of these places, just take a few minutes to reread and see where you might be able to stop and add more to your writing.
Like when we went to Names Hill on the way there, I just said, we went to Names Hill, but then I just went on and
to the next thing.
Yeah. So I think I could add a little bit more writing.
All right, why don't we do this? Why don't we mark some of the places where you think you might do it, and then look at the different ones you've marked and decide which one you want to work on today. Because I think there's more than one. So here's a Postit, and you can just put that one there. And then keep reading and see if there are other places where you think you might do the same thing.
When we, like, our guy who was taking us to the fossil butte and everything, we headed to his house / business, but then then we took a 10-minute ride to Fossil Butte. I didn't really talk about what was inside of it. Like, they had a giant fossil that was about a little bit from like that one mark all the way down to the bottom, and it was called a gorefish. It's like a crocodile, but not with legs, with fins and everything.
So you already have an idea of what you might want to add there. Then maybe that's a good one. We could just stay with that for today, and then you could go back and continue to do what we do today with other parts of your writing. And the thing I noticed, Nash, I read another one of your entries. It's the one about Glory Bowl. Can you find that one? We'll come back to this in a minute.